Good morning, CSL Los Angeles. I'm Amy Steinberg, and I'm so happy to be with you this morning. And I want to start with something from my inner child and your inner child. You know it well. I'm going to add a little verse written by Gina Walker, but you know this one. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Sing it with me, come on. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This big heart of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This big heart of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This big heart of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light, come on, clap it out. This little light of mine, hey, I'm gonna let it shine. Well, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Hallelujah, sing it. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine. I'm gonna let it shine. Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Woo!
And it is indeed shining your light.
I love you.
Vibrant and illuminating the pathway. Good morning. Well, good afternoon to you, Amy Steinberg.
And to you too.
I love your new art that I've seen you post on social media that is behind you. The what are you calling them?
Showbirds.
The showbirds.
We've got one singular sensation and Leonard Birdstein.
Ah, Leonard Bernstein. How
All right.
appropriate. I took me 3 times to get through Maestro, but I finally did it last night. So
There's some good moments, right? Powerful
it's
film.
it's challenging, but it's definitely beautiful. Well, where'd you go? I'm so happy you're here with us today,
I
Amy.
thought I was supposed to disappear then.
No, not till I say goodbye.
Okay.
But it's fine. So happy that you're joining us today. What perfect timing, as we discussed yesterday, for all of us. And as we celebrate your own, got to go off and be a musical director on a cruise, which is so fantastic. And so it's just divine timing that you're here with us today. And I'm so looking forward to sharing together what we're going to share and having you share your wisdom and your music. And then when it comes time for the message, to be inspired and have a conversation. And for those of you that I don't know if they know, you are in ministerial training and
That's right.
you were a minister in pulpit in a service near your home today, correct?
Yes. A place
So
called
that's
Jubilee. But that
Jubilees.
was not quite a fit for me because it's not a new thought center, and that's really my path. So
You say
I'm
it
really
wasn't a
excited.
youth want center? What
No,
is it?
it was Creation Spirituality from Matthew Fox. Do you happen to
Got it.
know?
I know
It's
Matthew
interesting.
Fox.
It's just really not my path.
Got it. Well,
Yeah.
this is the
Yes.
perfect place for you. So, all right. So now we'll say goodbye to you for a
Okay.
moment, and we'll see you in just a moment. Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Dr. Keith Cox, and I'm the spiritual leader here at the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles, and it's my um, warms my big heart of mine to say hello to you and welcome you into our virtual space today. If you're joining us live via YouTube or Zoom, it is January 21 in the year 2024, and we come together on Sunday mornings. That is the designated time to connect and to feel and to be inspired and to celebrate most often the spirit of life that exists within each and every one of us. That As I'm looking over my shoulder and seeing that beautiful piece of art that I brought back from Malawi in Africa, and seeing the art that Amy has allowed to be revealed through her and other means of creative expression, it reminds me of what we're here for on these regular basis, to remember that that energy force that is creative by nature, the light that Amy sang about, is here expressing itself by means of you and by means of me. And so we come together to honor that, to celebrate it, to be reminded of it, to remember it, to hear tools and tips and tricks on how to use it, and then to put all of that into action in our life once we depart from this time together, and practice it until we come together again. And so today I affirm for each of us, we are in the perfect and right place, in the perfect and right time, experiencing and expressing the perfection of that which is, which we call the divine or source, the thing itself, or God. I'm going to put on the screen for us our welcoming slides, and I invite you to take a deep breath and to sit back wherever you are and to be a participant consciously and energetically of the energy of our Sunday morning service as we move through the third Sunday of this Gregorian calendar year 2024. You'll see on the screen as the movement of light moves through the sky, and this image represents that infinite nature of life that exists by means of me and you. The vision statement for our community is supporting individuals finding their personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. Today, I invite you to know that that is what is unfolding for you, through you, and as you. We love to come together and say hello to each other in person by means of high five or an acknowledgement or shaking of the hands or a hug. In our virtual space, that looks like an act of namaste. It's an understanding and acceptance that we are connected and interconnected by the energy of this thing we call Source, and that we get to honor it and acknowledge it through our receptivity and interaction with it, and that as it exists within each and every individual of life itself. So we move into the act of namaste. We do that by placing our hands together in prayer position, as you see in the image on the screen, taking a deep breath in, exhaling, closing our eyes if that feels comfortable and is safe for you. In your mind's eye, begin to envision and visualize all that may be on the other side of the screen, looking through into their own screens and any and all that we just desire to honor the power that exists within them. And lean forward, exhaling, saying out loud, Namaste. The divine in me honors and acknowledges the divine in you and receives that as a blessing. As a community, we come together acknowledging all of life itself, welcoming all races, all religions, all countries of origins, all sexual orientations, all genders, all abilities. The affirmation is we stand with you, for you are safe here. Obviously, we are not standing with you side by side, heart to heart, shoulder to shoulder in this moment, but we are energetically, and by declaring that and looking at that as the reality of life, is what brings it into form, because we live in a universe that is governed by spiritual law. I say this often as we look at this graphic on the screen. I absolutely adore and love that which is on the screen right now as far as the representations of all the different expressions of life on the screen. It's a visual representation of spiritual truth, which is that we're all different. We're supposed to be different. It's the way that it is. And that we honor that and acknowledge that here. Today is Dr. Ernest Holmes' earthly birthday. If he had stayed on Earth, meaning had not moved to wherever he did, as we all will at some point, he would have been 137 years old today. One of my favorite Dr. Ernest Holmes quotes is, "Spirit has placed the stamp of individuality upon itself and called it you." It's that you that we honor and acknowledge through the act of namaste and through our verbal affirmation. If you join with me, please, in saying, we welcome one and we welcome all. And happy birthday to Ernest Holmes. Speaking of Ernest Holmes, as a community, we teach primarily the philosophy, faith, and way of the science of mind, even sometimes some Matthew Fox. But basically what we teach here is that element of new thought. New thought means that We live day by day, expression by expression, open to having a new thought in regards to the spiritual nature of the divine, while allowing the core of spiritual truth as we teach it to stay ever present and ever evolving. What that core and that fundamental and foundational component is that there's only one energy that exists in the universe. We call it God. It's creative by nature, and it has created you and me. It's also creating through us all physical expressions and our receptivity to those expressions of life itself. That's because we're all interconnected by mind, uppercase M-I-N-D. In this philosophy, faith, and way of life known as the science of mind, it says that we are all one individualized expressions of all that there is, which is mind. And that we both experience and express it through our thought and our actions and our reactions and our interactions with the very thing itself. And because we live in a universe that is governed by spiritual law, it responds to us by corresponding to this state of being of our life, our mental acuity, our consciousness, our thinking, acting, believing, and interacting. And so what that means for us is that we're presented with a grand opportunity with every breath and every thought to change our thinking, ultimately developing a consciousness to change our lives. That's quite complex in many ways, and yet it's also quite simple. It comes down to how we navigate our life and how we choose to give of our divinity and honor our divinity to ourselves and to others, thus supporting our vision statement as a community, which is supporting individuals finding their personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. It's my invitation for each of us today to be open and receptive to a spiritual awakening, to allowing ourselves to have an alignment with the core qualities of the divine that exist within us, and to know that as this unfolds, it makes an imprint in our consciousness, and we accept it and know and set the intention for that imprint shall invoke change in our life, change in the external because we're evolving internally. We like to open each Sunday morning with a ritual that reflects this type of activity. It's called Calling in the Light. And the purpose of the ritual is to gather into, or gathering, a more conscious awareness of our oneness and the qualities that we each possess as complete expressions of the divine. And so we perform this ceremony, this ritual, to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples and all faiths, all sentient beings come from this one great universal presence, which we call spirit. I invite you to look at the flickering flames on the screen, and let each one be representative of the slides we saw earlier of the individuals, knowing that it's the same power that ignites this flame, this little light of mine. And that as all sentient beings in humanity navigate this earth, that the philosophy and faith and spiritual ideology of each individual is different. And to honor that. Today I would like for us to use what's called lighting the flames of faith, and to remember this energy, this flames that exist within all of us, and that as we honor that, as we've built up so far this morning in each act and each slide, to create intention, a space for intention and receptivity for the flames of faith in each individual. And so as we metaphorically light the candles that we saw on the screen, let's do so for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. And as we do that, and this for each of these faiths, my invitation is to open our mind to seeing individuals that practice these faiths and feel our connection of the interconnectedness, and to remember that it's the one power expressing itself through and as all beings. So we also light it for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of indigenous people, the way of primal spirituality, and for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge and action and devotion, and for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law, and for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion, as well as all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love, and all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling, and for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and of peace, and for all forms of new thought, that which I spoke of earlier, and that we practice here, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And finally, pulling all of that together, returning back to the one light, we now declare this candle the healing candle. And I invite you and ask you to take a moment and think of someone that you'd like to put into the light of the healing flame, which may include yourself, so that all may experience the eternal and the everlasting love of the divine. This morning I'd like to close before Amy comes on and takes us through the chant of O Holy Light. This Buddhist prayer for forgiveness, and for each of us to hear it and allow it to touch our hearts. If I've harmed anyone in any way, either knowingly or unknowingly, through my own confusions, I ask their forgiveness. If anyone has harmed me in any way, either knowingly or unknowingly, through their own confusions, I forgive them. And if there is a situation I'm not yet ready to forgive, I forgive myself for that. For all the ways I harm myself, negate, doubt, belittle myself, judge, or be unkind to myself, through my own confusions, I forgive myself. Feeling that energy and transformation of that energy, Amy will take us through the chant, Holy Light.
I am holy light. I am holy light. I am holy light. I am one with God. I invite you to join me singing, I am holy light. I am holy light. I am holy light. I am holy light. I am one with God. I am one with God. Let's do it once more. I am holy light. I am holy light. I am holy light. I am holy light. I am one with God. 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 Last time, I'm one with God. I am one with God.
And so it is. Ah, and you wrote that chant, correct? That chant in that
Yes,
song. It's so beautiful.
thank you.
What a great resonance. The resonance field of this, the last part of I am one with God, is obviously a great chant. And the connection that we all share, as I talked about that through the buildup of our ritual and then our light and then this song, really puts us puts us poised, if you will, in the right place to move into where we're at in the development of those four chapters of the science of mind. Over my last week, I've really been playing in my mind. I say playing and opening up to using these foundations of this teaching in a new way, right? Being receptive to it. I was spent some time with a dear friend this week, and we've been friends for almost, oh God, 30 years. And I was with a friend who I've been known for almost 40 years, also this teaching. And we were talking about how do you use it, this teaching, after being around for 100 years, And I said, I think it's using it through the most simple ways. And for me, one of the ways that I have decided to use it and did last week, and I often say we should do it through a spiritual experimentation, right? Like look at it as spiritual experimentation. And mine was to just make a declaration when I start my day that everything I experience and everything that I attract is a reflection of joy, right? If I just engage in joy, and just having that mindset changes so much in life, right?
Absolutely.
So I know today you and I are going to have conversation. We're going to play with some quotes. If you feel compelled, you're going to go into song, and there's no mistake, of course. And my first quote is going to reflect this: that when you and I spoke, because it was we were you said yes to this, and you were excited about it, and I was excited, and then schedules made it challenging for our traditional meeting, and I didn't know what you had been speaking on at the church today, and you didn't know what our theme is, and our theme is revealing anew, and your talk today was titled, tell me what,
There's a revealing going on. I mean, if that's not
right?
perfection. Yeah.
It's perfection, it's serendipitous, but it also reflects what we teach here, right? And I have a quote from Ernie, the birthday boy, on for to kick us off for that from the chapter, what it does. The four foundational chapters are the thing itself, the way it works, what it does, and how to use it. And this quote from what it does, which I think supports even more what we're just talking about, is this: all invention, art, literature, government, law, and wisdom that has come to the race, meaning the human, has been given to it through those who have deeply penetrated the secrets of nature and the mind of God. Perhaps the simplest way to state the proposition is to say that we are surrounded by a mind or intelligence that knows everything, that the potential knowledge of all things and wisdom coexist in the mind of the universe, that we also exist in it and may draw from it. But what we draw from it, we must draw through the channel of our own minds.
Mm, yummy.
It is yummy, and the part of that that I think is important, I'm going to say that I believe is important for me, and it's important for me to state for all of us to hear in a new way, is that drawing that we're doing isn't creating that in mind. I think it's really sometimes difficult in our teaching to comprehend when we say that everything that we desire to be, to process, to think, to express, and to experience already exists. It already exists. Our role is to be receptive to it, to set the intention for it, to believe it's possible, and then trust its unfolding.
When I'm studying this specific chapter and I'm trying to remember like what, because I'm still in school, so I'm thinking like how can I quantify this or how do I explain this really easily? The thing that always comes to me is what it does is as much as I allow it to do.
Exactly.
Exactly like what you just said about becoming receptive. It's really about that receptivity. And that kind of takes the pressure off in a
Well, it
way.
takes the pressure off, but part of the reason I think that's a challenge oftentimes is there's this internal conflict where so often the foundational components of this philosophy and most New Thought teachings is that we have the power to co-create and manifest that which we desire. And so it's through that languaging, and certainly many of us are drawn into here because, like, I want a happier life. Oh, I want a new car. Oh, I want a parking space. Oh, I want a box of cash. Right? Like, I want. And in our early stages of evolution, of evolving into this, when those things show up, we want to pat ourselves on the back and look what I did. Not making any of that wrong. The objective here is to acknowledge that, and then, as Michael Beckwith says in the four stages of conscious, awakening, right? It's to me, through me, as me, is me,
Mm,
right? So as one's moving through
so
that, it's
good.
letting that be while at the same time opening to a higher. I shouldn't even say higher. Dr. Maureen Hort gets upset when I say that. It's not a higher, but it's a different avenue in mind.
Mm.
It's just a different avenue in mind, right? It's also learning and
Do you,
learning
I have a
not.
question. Sorry to
Yes.
interrupt, but
No,
do
that's
you
what we're here
believe
for.
that we kind of circle around those four spaces? In other words, sometimes we're in the to me, sometimes we're in the through me, sometimes we're in the is me. You know what I mean? Like, I
I
think I
think
saw
that's
a
a good
talk
question.
once. Maybe it
Here's
was,
the key, here is my answer to that, and I have an
yeah.
answer to that. I think it's first is to remember that the way that we're experiencing this thing and expressing this thing is multidimensional. We live a multidimensional existence within the oneness of life, right? So if we're looking at us evolving into a higher consciousness, because that's really the objective, higher meaning more in alignment with our divine nature, I'll
Mm,
put it that way, right? Then we, I like to look at it like we're moving up a slinky, right? Like you take a slinky
yeah.
and turn it upside down, make it sit down. We're rising up and through the slinky, right? While at the same time, all of those four pieces can exist as the individual as we're moving up in consciousness. Right? So, yes, they can all exist and all are met from a different framework of mind as we move up or lower in consciousness.
Ah, that makes sense.
If you were to take the map of consciousness by Dr. David Hawkins and flip it so that that spiral, there's like, here's zero on the consciousness and here's 1,000. And as we're all moving up, you hit benchmarks, right? Now, there's also significant benchmarks where when you move, from below 500 to above 500, when you're moving there's a shift in your mind where that's a foundational shift of knowing you are the thing itself,
Mm.
as opposed to wanting the thing itself to do its thing through you. I'm going to share this quote that a friend of mine posted that I think addresses this. It says, ego, because it's really all about ego in that sense. Ego says, once everything falls into place, I'll find peace. Spirit says, find your peace, and then everything will fall in place.
I love that so much.
Right?
You know, I feel like singing a song
Sing, baby, sing.
because I think that these teachings are like riches, and
Uh-huh.
I feel so rich with it right now. And when you said peace, it made me think of the chorus of the song.
Oh, good.
So this is my song called So Rich. So this is a fun sing along. People can join me on the chorus. It goes, so rich, so rich, so rich, so rich, so rich, so rich we are. Come on. So rich, so rich, so rich, so rich, so rich, so rich we are. dripping in joy, dripping in peace, dripping in love. We have everything we need. Dripping in joy, dripping in peace, dripping in love. We have everything we need. We are so rich. Reminds me of how when I know that I'm rich and when I look at what I have in the same way, it's like instead of going from I want to have more, I recognize my gratitude for what I do have, and it attracts more naturally. Same idea. You want to sing with me? So rich? Come on, Dr. Keith. So rich, so rich, so rich, so rich, so rich, so rich we are. So rich, so rich, so rich, so rich, so rich, so rich we are. Dripping in joy, dripping in joy, peace, dripping in peace, love, dripping in love. We have everything we need. Dripping in joy, dripping in peace, dripping in love. We have everything we need. I gotta do the rap. Grat-tat-tatitude spilling up my veins, digging on the decadence, goodness reigns. Queen bee being on the throne of ease, rich with infinite potentialities. We think money has value. Listen, it's paper, metal, electronic transmission. We get what we give. We are unique, we breathe. Cannot just give, cannot just receive. Law of circulation, money secondary. You have an essence only you can carry. As I advance on my journey, I see there is a power for good and it can use me. Ha ha! It uses me. I'll leave it there since we're chit-chatting.
I love it. Of course, the next quote fits right in and dovetails with it. And I also want to say before we move into that, just what we were speaking of being the channel for the thing itself, as you just went into that song, that's an example of that. You went into the rap, that's an example of that. And looking at the songbirds over your shoulder also are a reflection of what we're speaking of. It's about keeping that realization, right? So the birthday boy also wrote at one point, a constant realization of the presence of spirit. I want to say that part again, a constant realization, or I would add to that, or to the best of our ability, a constant realization of spirit will provide a sense of divine companionship that no other attitude could produce.
It's like the greatest love affair, right?
It is. It can definitely be the greatest love affair. So you, in one of your slides for today, you said energy flows where attention goes. And you had a roller skate.
Well, I put a bunch of different icons on that. And I thought, I asked today, I reached out and I asked everybody, I said, hey, look at all these icons. What are you attracted to? Where does your attention go? And some people said the butterflies, some people said the sun, some people, and I said, mine goes to the disco ball because I like to party, but like whatever we focus upon is sort of who we are and what we attract. It's like this circular, the flow of attention. And it's really powerful. And I just like to play with things like that.
Well, I think it's important to play with things like that. And my addition to that would be the thing for us to have our attention on right now and our energy on is developing the constant realization of the presence of spirit. And it's from there, then we strengthen our faith, our trust, our potentiality to not have a lack of trust, right? So it's to just keep developing this remembrance that it's there and it's unfailing.
That's the whole thing for me. In fact, I'm going to start teaching a class, mental muscle. I'm sure you've heard of James Mellon's class, mental muscle, and you pick a word at the top of the class and you kind of just sit quietly, envision it, let it come to you. And the word that came to me yesterday is the word believe. And that is it. It's like the other quote in there from that slideshow that you might recognize that's so similar to the one you picked was about the realization of God is the most healing thing to the mind of man, right? Or something. I'm misquoting it a little bit, but basically like as long as I focus upon that divine within, and that divine within everything and everyone,
Right.
as long as I do that, I am tapped into the most powerful healing force there is. And it's not just healing like physically illness healing. It's like healing my mind, like healing from any story of separation or not enough or I just can you tell me your statement for this center again, because it's like one of my favorite things in the whole
Supporting
world.
individuals finding their personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening.
I mean, it so perfectly encapsulates this teaching, that empowerment, and not like I'm good enough, like not like self-esteem. It's more like,
It's
I
not
mean, I'm
ego-based.
yeah, not ego based, but I am one with the divine. Like it's so that is so powerful to me. And
Mhm. Thank
only
you.
when I forget that is when I fall into the distrust or the worry and all that stuff.
And the piece that I there are two pieces to that I'd like to respond to. One is to remember that what your definition is of the power itself, the thing itself, is supposed to be ever evolving,
Mm.
right? In traditional religions, it's not. It's given to you, and you're supposed to follow that. Here, there's the invitation, the encouragement to let that grow and evolve and be different, because A, that's healthy, and B, that's reflective then of one's consciousness evolving your mind. That's what our whole teaching is about. You want the movement. It's about growing. It's about expanding. It's about evolving. It's about letting go. It's about detachment, right? One of my clients right now, his word for the year is surrender. And we've been working a lot on what is there to surrender to, and that's what he keeps asking me. And I keep saying to him, well, maybe look at this differently. It's not surrendering to, it's surrendering as. You're surrendering
Well,
as.
you can't be talking about surrender and me not sing this song that I wrote with Jamie Lula called
Go for it. That's what we're
"Letting
doing.
Go," because
Letting
this
go
is
of
you
our
should
God.
refer him to this song because this is really, even just the first lyric is so aligned with that and will help. It goes like this: Surrender is not a white flag, giving up or giving in. Surrender is giving over to the infinite within. Surrender is not a prison. There are no borders where I live. Surrender is a freedom only letting go can give. Oh, oh. Every time I sing this, I can almost hear Jamie. We were sitting in this conference together and we just like holed up in a room and wrote this one. I'm letting go. Oh, I put a little rock into my roll. I'm letting go. Oh, the seeds of love will grow. And that makes me think also of like the seeds of love. A seed doesn't stay a seed, right? It changes, like you were talking about, the evolution. I love that. Okay. I'm not a pretender, but I'm a contender to be in surrender today. Don't be a defender of doubt, but remember that you are the light of your way. I'm not a pretender, but I'm a contender to be in surrender today. Don't be a defender of doubt, but remember that you are the light of your way. I'm letting go. Oh. I put a little soul into my role. I'm letting go. Oh, 'cause I know those seeds of love, they're gonna grow. I'm letting go. Whoa. So I can't sing my song. I'm letting go. Oh, 'cause I got to let go to hold on. Let go, hold on, let go, hold on, let go, hold on. Little bit. I'm doing little bits of songs for you.
Yeah, I love it. That's perfect. And you said a seed doesn't stay a seed. It doesn't, but it actually eventually returns back to the opportunity to be a seed
That's
again.
right.
So,
And it creates more seeds, right? Like the
yeah,
seed. I love looking at, for instance, what is it? A pepper, a pepper. Like a big bell pepper. When you open it up, like all those tiny little white seeds. Like it's
mhm,
incredible how those tiny little seeds can create
I know.
a whole other bunch of them.
And how those are expressions of God, and physically sometimes they can harm others. When you say bell pepper, because it's a nightshade vegetable, and I'm highly
Oh, is it
allergic.
really? It can harm.
People are
It's
like, "How do
it's.
you know you're allergic?" I'm like, "It's the seed. The seeds are actually the part that's the
Oh,
toxic."
really?
Right. So
Interesting.
letting
Well,
go. We were just talking about letting go, right?
but isn't
So
that interesting though? Because the seed of the thought is the thing that harms you,
exactly.
right? That old belief. Interesting.
Isn't it? So we are looking at opening up and letting go right now. That's where we're at. So when we're doing that in the context of a new or evolving idea of the power of how we can use it, what it does, my next quote for us is from someone that I love and adore, Dr. David Hawkins. And I love it because he's so directly ethereal, intellectual at the same time. And this is the quote: "Man," and he means the human, "thinks he lives by virtue of the forces he can control, but in fact, he's governed by power from unrevealed sources, power of which he has no control, because power is effortless. It goes unseen and unsuspected. Force is experienced through the senses. Power can be recognized only through inner awareness."
Ooh, power versus force. I always think
That's
about
his.
when
That's his. Those are his. That is. Those are his terms for the divine versus the experience. Right.
it's just thinking about like when you plug in something to the wall,
Mhm.
how that just image came to my mind when you were speaking about that.
Right. And then even then, we can't control that energy. We can direct it. We can use it. Right? So, what this quote, I believe, is giving us all the opportunity for is to have a new perspective on how we allow the energy of the divine within us to express itself, and how do we want to direct that.
I'm sorry to be so ADD, but I like can't help but tell you about this thing that came up in my talk today
Oh, that's what this. Well, hey,
that
that's what we're
is
doing here.
it came up and it's really everything's in line, everything's connected, but as we're sitting here I'm playing with my nails, okay? I have to show you my nails, okay? I have
Uh-huh.
never in my whole adult life had nails. I had some weird decision to get nails. I know this sounds silly and
Being
this
nails that have been applied.
I've never, yeah, fake nails because I play piano. So, I've never ever had them. I'm 50 years old. I had this weird urge. They're just like little press ons, okay? They're so silly, but aren't they cute? This is going to come spiritual, I swear. So, this morning I was getting ready and one of them popped off. And
Hmm.
I thought, oh gosh, what do I do? I just, well, I have to glue it back on. So I go to glue it back on. And I was thinking, what a metaphor, and this is, I guess, maybe where I'm thinking about the power versus the force, or the experience and the directing. So for me to make a decision to try something new, nails it now, to try something new for us might be a different mindset, waking up and saying, I have joy today, I'm going to apply, I'm looking for the joy today. That's a new thing for some people are so, I know I was and still can be like so easily into the, oh, what do I have to do today? But if I try on that new idea that I wake up and go, today, I'm going to look for the joy. I'm going to attract the joy. I'm going to be in the joy. I'm going to flow of joy. And then what's going to happen sometimes is it's going to pop off and I'm going to have to re-glue. And it's like this, again, the tools that you were talking about, the practicing. And so as I'm sitting here, I'm like, it's so
No, but let's
stupid,
look at that
but
as an active metaphor. And so, what one gets to look at when you pop a fancy nail, we're not going to go into the fact that years ago I put them on too because I would bite my nail.
ooh, did you
They
really?
weren't sparkly, they were just clear. Anyway, but when you pop a nail, you're at a moment of choice, right?
Right.
That can either be a crisis or
Mm-hmm.
an opportunity.
Oh, I
Right?
love that.
Dr. Maureen Hoyt says that we reach our spiritual awakenings either through inspiration or desperation.
Mm.
Now, the desperation could be a moment of crisis where we're like, I've got to go do blah, 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 fill in the blank, right? And I'm going to do it with only one nail. What am I going to do? Like, or all but one nail, right? As opposed to taking a deep breath and
Mm-hmm.
going, whew, well, I'm one pop, I've popped a nail. I have opportunities before me to figure out the way to repair it, right? To change what's in front of me, to allow that healing to happen or not. And if that doesn't happen, how am I going to feel? right? Am I going to let my ego get involved and say, "Oh, I can't go do this now. I'm less of a channel for the divine." I'm saying that jokingly and
No,
seriously.
it's great. You're taking it a step further, and I love this.
Or I can glue the nail back on. All of my glamour, all of my majesty, all it's all still intact, and now I get to share that, right?
Yeah.
And I've been calm, so what I'm going to attract back in my world is more calm.
It's a
You have
fun
a
little metaphor. It's a little silly, but it's so new for me. And I think that's the thing about the nails that felt like a good metaphor, because it really is. This teaching can be, like you said, because it's evolving, it can always be new. I can always look at it with those beginner eyes. And I love that CSL goes back to those first four chapters, and that you go, because every time you read them differently, right? Because we are in a different place. So that's really powerful, I think.
well, the thing to remember, and there's a whole bunch of us ministers that we laugh about this all the time, is the 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 this teaching, among many others, which came into play in the latter part of the 19th century, did so under the guise of the term new thought. And so it's important to remember we're here to have one, not just acknowledge that they exist, but to have one, right? So,
Right.
so I love that you had a Thomas Troward quote in your slideshow today.
I love
And I
him.
think it leads us to right where we are in this
Oh, wait,
subject.
when you read it, you have to do what I did today. You have to say it in a British accent
Okay.
because he's British.
Well, do you want to share it then in a British
Well,
accent?
I don't have it in front of me,
Well, here,
but
I'm
I,
going to
I
read
believe
it.
you can do it. I trust in
I
you.
don't know that I can.
Here,
Waking.
you say it in the with a regular American accent, and then I'll like one line, and then I'll repeat it in British.
We can gradually grow into any condition we desire,
We can
provided
gradually grow into any condition we desire,
provided, provided we first make ourselves
provided we first make ourselves
in habitual mental attitude
in habitual mental attitude
the person who corresponds
the person who corresponds
to those conditions.
to those conditions. I feel like
Now, that
that's
is
how he
probably one
sounded.
of the most simplified quotes from Thomas Troward ever, but because he's so complex. But
Yeah.
I want to break that down into the popping of a nail, right? Because when Troward's saying we can gradually grow into any condition we desire, provided we first make ourselves in a habitual mental attitude, the person who corresponds to those conditions, what I believe he's saying is that we want to mentally prepare ourselves for whatever conditions show up, right? And that it's really not about the condition, it's about the mental attitude.
Mm.
That's what it's about.
Ooh, I
And
like that too.
it's about the mental attitude. So, really, what it all comes back to is working on our mental attitudes,
Mm.
right? To our mental.
Attitude of gratitude.
Right. So, it's really that. And that's what I think that when we're looking at what it does, we are really constantly being asked to not only redefine and be open to our relationship with the power, the thing itself, and a new definition to it, but also ask ourselves, how do we want to show up letting it out, right? There's this quote that was posted on social media that I pulled for today that I think is really great, and it's from a group called Ancient Pagan Roots. Just love
Love it.
that. Ancient
Love
Pagan
it.
Roots. And here's what this person posted, and I'm using it as an invitation for all of us. And the quote is, I believe in a higher power. I have no need or desire to wrap an identity around it, because religion's obsession with the right identity has caused separation of our planet's people. And I believe in love and unity, regardless of our spiritual beliefs. Whether we call it God, Source, the universe, Buddha, whatever, doesn't matter to me. My eyes, ears, and heart are open to the wisdom, beauty, and miracles that surround us constantly. That juices me beyond words.
Mm. I love it. Whenever I get, you know, into a place where I am straying from that quote,
Mhm.
I can always bring myself back when I think about things like the baby growing in the belly of the woman
Mhm.
or the flower blooming. Um, and that is, you know, flowers don't bloom Buddhist.
Mhm.
Babies don't grow right in religiously. They grow because there's that power. There's that energy of life. And that always just snaps me right back into the wonder, the awe. You know, that Erika and Lisa, that incredible song, you know, if you're not in awe, you're just not paying attention. And sometimes my attention does falter and I have to just again practice being mindful of the magic really
And
of life.
the invitation that I have for you and all of us on this day of awakening to what it does in a new way, and to remember that the way it works that we addressed last week was that it responds to us by corresponding, and that we're mental beings that communicate with our eyes and our ears and our heart, but we're also audible beings, and words matter.
Mm.
And so let's try not to use words such as falter, because you're not
Mm.
faltering, right? You just what you may have just expressed doesn't resonate with your desire for your
Mm.
highest. And so the
I
key is to
caught
bring.
myself today when I was talking about something. I said, you know, I always pray. I always pick prayer last or something like that. And it's like the last thing I do. I said, I say that a lot. I'm not saying that anymore.
Good.
I'm not going to say that anymore.
So you're
So
having
I will
conscious
take
evolution.
falter out as well.
Right. So the great Barbara Marx Hubbard tells us that we're all called to be a conscious evolutionist. And a conscious evolutionist is one who's practicing conscious evolution. And I'm paraphrasing this. And conscious evolution is based on individuals and collectives focusing on their essence, not their ego. Right? Oprah Winfrey, as you had in your talk, says the future of life as we know it is being determined by everything we're doing and not doing now. And Carol Carnes writes, it's our spiritual duty to love and embrace our essential self.
And it comes back to that essential self of divinity, that essential self of God
Yes,
that lives as me, that is me. And I love that she says it's our duty
our
basically to
spiritual duty.
our spiritual
She says
duty
it's our spiritual duty. Yes.
to love our essential self. I'm a real big Carol Carnes fan.
Oh, me too. I've known her
She
for
sparkles.
years. Yes.
You have those same eyes that she has though. You sparkle too. I
Thank
think
you.
you get it after you're in this teaching for the 100 years that you those sparkly
Exactly.
eyes that just sparkle with spirit. I mean, it's very you both have that same thing,
Well, thank
that
you. So
little
I want to go back to
twinkle.
that quote for a second for everyone that's watching and listening. And as we close down this piece of our service today, to hear her quote, and it's such a beautiful quote, and I'm glad that you used it this morning. And I know that it's had an imprint on those that you shared it with. And it's our spiritual duty to love and embrace our
Mm,
essential self. She didn't say criticize.
mm,
She didn't say change. She didn't say alter or falter. What she said was to embrace it, to
mm,
embrace our essential self. And our essential self is peace and power and beauty and joy and light and life and love and wisdom. That's our spiritual nature. That's our essential self.
mm,
And as we navigate our humanity, the times that we think that we're less than or have made a mistake or can't remember who we are, to turn inward and to embrace our
mm,
essential self. And as we do that act of embracing, whether it's physical, as Amy just did, and we can do that because that helps us feel, it's tactile, or it's a mental embrace in life, do so with the deep trust and faith that the power itself is there, responding to you, ready to
mm,
give you more and more of itself. the power, responds to all alike. It's impersonal. That's what it does. So I'm excited that we got to change out or close out that third chapter today, and then next week we'll move into how to use it. Amy, is there a song you'd like to share with us right now?
Well, there's a lot that's coming to my mind. It's one I do a lot here, but I'll just do a little bit of it because it's so perfect. There's a power in a seed, reminding itself how to become a tree. There's a power in a cell, and it's capable of making a you or a me. There's a power in a word, vibrating at a frequency. There's a power inside that power, inside that power. It's love, 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 love. It's love, 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 love. It's love. Just do a little bit of it.
Perfect, perfect. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing
Thank
this.
you.
We're going to close out this part of our service today, and let's all know that that marinates and connects us to a remembrance of who we are. I'm so appreciative that each of you chose to join us today. A big thank you to Travis Smith for supporting us with our audio, and Robert with our social media, and Amy with her music and her insights in this time for collaborativeness. My intention is to begin having more conversations. I know you all like that, and I love doing it with a lot of our new thought leaders throughout the year. So watch for more of that to happen. Once again, thank you for being here. Please make sure that you have signed up for our weekly e-newsletter that goes out the first part of every week, as well as a new thought text for the day that goes out each morning at 7:30 a.m. We're back in person the second Sunday of each month. I believe it's February 12th the next time around. And it's just so wonderful to be together in person, as well as sharing in this format. So I thank you all for that. I'd like to put on the screen in just a moment the ways to support our community financially, and know that there is a great appreciation for all of you doing that. And as I remember how to do that moment, it's right there on the screen. And so just know that you can go to our website and csl-la.org and click on donate, and or you can go to the app in the app store that's got a little icon that you can click right on, or mail in a check, as well as you can call me if you'd like to handle that personally. Let's all know that as we consciously participate in giving, that the universe responds to us by corresponding the way that it does, which is to propagate more of its own nature. And its own nature is that of abundance. And so I affirm for each one of us today that we are abundant beings. As one of our quotes said this week by the one and only Dr. David Walker, is one can't give with a clenched fist. And so let's each choose to open ourselves up, and as this new year kicks off, that we give with a more open mind, a more open heart, and with the vein and understanding for the experience of newness and growth and magnificence in our life. So we're going to close out. Amy's going to sing one more song for us. I'm putting her on the spot to sing one more song to close out, and after she does so, I'll come back on and do a spiritual mind treatment, and we'll say goodbye. Take it away, Amy.
Before I get us singing, I just wanted to say I love you, Keith Cox, and I consider you one of my great teachers. So thank you so much for teaching science of mind, religious science, new thought, metaphysics, however, whatever name we call it. You teach it so clearly, and it's so helpful for me, and I'm sure for everyone here. That's why we keep coming. So this is a Ricky Byers song, We Let the Love. You might know it. If you don't, you'll catch on real easy. It goes like this. We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We let the joy, we let the joy wash over us. We let it be. We let we let it be. How about the peace? We let the peace wash over us. We let it be. We let it be. Let's do love one more time. We let the love wash over us. We let it be.
And so, using those words, we do indeed let it be as an act of surrender, of letting go, of opening up to the state of mind, the state of being, the experience of that which we've set in motion today. Of tuning into a resonance field of the thing itself, source, that which is truly nameless, but we feel it, we know it, we express it. And so for each and every one of us, I declare and affirm that new thoughts exist for us right now. And we let go of any need to control them or coerce them or even define them. We just open up and let it be. It's through this journey and each expression and experience along the way on the journey that we become more and more awakened to it and its glory and magnificence. And that results in a greater sense of personal self-empowerment. What a joy it is to live this life right now. And so it is. Each and every one of you are the blessings of the divine. Thank you for sharing your light with all of us and continue to share it with life itself. Namaste. And so it is. Peace out and be blessed. We're saying goodbye to those of you on YouTube right now. If you're on Zoom, you can turn your cameras on and let's say a hello.
That was wonderful, Dr. Keith.
Thank you, my soon-to-be Reverend friend Amy.
Eee.
Hi, Ted. How are you?
What a wonderful service today, and the music and all the wonderful words. I have